Septima Clark was a trailblazer here in Charleston and around the world. And last week, the City of Charleston honored her with a historical marker at her birthplace home. In this edition of Quintin's Close-Ups, I sit down with notable artist Jonathan Green one-on-one, who, by the way, unveiled a portrait of Septima Clark. And be sure to download the free Quintin's Close-Ups app in your Apple or Google Play stores. Jonathan Green, it's so good to see you again.
Oh, it's a pleasure.
I appreciate this. You know, you and I were talking over the weekend, and I know that you had an event planned in Litchfield Beach, which you had to go to. Talk to me about who Jonathan Green is these days.
I think Jonathan Green is an advocate for the importance of the visual imagery of black people in South Carolina, particularly the Low Country.
You talk about one of those people, we all loved her and still love her to this day, and she is a part of black history, and that is Septima Clark, that is. I know that you unveiled a portrait of her last week at the Halsey Center in downtown Charleston. I want to read an article from the Post and Courier. It reads this: Jonathan Green, an acclaimed painter, or artist like I say, of the Low Country, scenes and landscapes, applied his signature brilliant, huge style to the portrait. In it, Clark is positioned in front of a bright blue sky with white clouds casting shadows on an iridescent green swamp grass. What's that one word would you describe about Septima Clark?
Moses.
Wow, very powerful. And the article goes on to say this: he chose to portray Clark around age 50, when she was deep in the trenches of the civil rights movement. Her hair is bright, bluish white. Her eyes look out from behind red-rimmed cat-eye glasses, and her lips are parted in a slight smile. And we were just talking about this. There are people saying that you're not smiling enough, but I smile a lot. And then you said this quote: she looks like everybody's fifth grader teacher back in the day. Who was your fifth grade teacher back in the day?
Oh, my fifth grade teacher back in the day was Mrs. Jackson.
Yeah.
Mr. Murray, Mr. Samuel Murray, who then went on to become mayor of Port Royal, South Carolina, who married my fourth grade teacher, Mrs. Thaxton. So for me, the history of teaching, then education, because it was all about the teachers. Yes. They were just so professional. And they were so poised and beautiful. They smelled good, they looked good. And they were all of your aspirations. You know, those were the things. You have your family sacrificed your going to school, especially if you come from a farming community, which I came from. And they wanted you to be the best. Well, it was very easy to be the best when you had teachers that were simply the best.
Right. Oh, yeah. Take me back to that painting. I was just thinking about this all day long. When you were done with the portrait of Septima Clark, what was going through your mind? What else did you learn about her?
Well, what I learned, I don't know if I learned about her, but I learned that I could channel. And I channeled into her the person at that time, and all that she must have been going through with the oppositions of politics, education,
right,
race,
right,
gender, a mother, a grandmother, a leading, a pillar of the community that had been tried and denounced in many ways. But what I have in common with her is her tenacity to continue and achieve. And whatever goal you set for yourself, it's the bottom line of achievement.
You're right about that. Gosh, you've done so many magnificent projects, portraits, art. If we had a scale behind me, where would you put this particular portrait in your mind?
it would be the pinnacle of my success as an artist, because I have been afforded the divine right and opportunity to paint a shero that had her pension removed from her. She got it back, thank goodness. Was ostracized in not only the white community, but in her own community. That had the audacity and the fortitude to go out onto those barrier islands with the prospect of educating, or I should say re-educating, black people. And she herself came from a middle-class family here in Charleston. And when I look at so many of our women of great privileges of being married or being successful in whatever their careers are,
right.
Having the opportunity to give back, I think Mrs. Clark is sort of the optimum person in casting your sight on a belief system of humanity and education.
What is that belief system like right now in your mind?
Well, I'm an optimist, so it's always good in my mind, regardless of what I encounter, what I have to deal with. I always believe in the hope of one thing, and that's if you're young, there's a possible chance for whatever. But it really starts with the youth.
Yeah, I agree with that. And you went on to tell the Postal Courier this, I'm dubbing her the mother of pearls because she created a lot of them in terms of what she stood for. What else did she stood for in your mind?
Well, the epitome of grace and character, the tenacity to educate, and to believe in years way beyond her time, and to have architect anything, and she's known as the architect of the civil rights movement.
That's true.
Coming right here from the low country of South Carolina.
Right.
She offers an insight for us to have a better appetite and understanding whom we were before we were deemed anything. So all of the negatives, she cast all of that aside, and she was still open for forgiveness by all her foes. And that's just the epitome of class, culture, embracing the new, and modernity.
You also went on to say this quote, everybody should know about her because she was an early architect of the civil rights movement. Back in those days, the women were constantly overshadowed. So what is it like for women these days in your mind?
Well, you can go to any church, and most women are overshadowed in the churches. I mean, just recently, women have been accepted to become ordained pastors in a church. My mom is an ordained pastor in our family church of Huspa Baptist Church, which comes out of the Tabernacle Church, to which our sister church is Grace AME. And Tabernacle, I'm sure it came out of First Africa and now vice versa, but we have 3 generations of a legacy of our history. And there is not one church or religious institution that you cannot give credit to the woman first. And in order for us to survive further and thrive more, we need to be able to recognize those women that have given countless hours of fundraising and supporting in the churches. And you know the churches are the bedrock of the community.
Sure.
And we need their images in these churches so people can see what they look like. If we don't see the images of us, we really cannot talk about the history of us. History is taught through visual. Literature explains visual. And that's usually how it works.
You talk about image, you talk about history. If someone were to do a painting on you or a portrait of you, what should your future look like? I know that's like a silly question, but...
Well, platinum to start. I'm working on being platinum.
You will.
And, but, you know, I really see myself as a, you know, I've been a member of my family church ever since the age of 10, and I've been an usher for that many years. I'm celebrating my 50th year as an usher.
Wow.
And I think a portrait of me that would truly describe much of who I am is a person standing at the front door of the church in my usher uniform, greeting people, helping to share or impart something beautiful that has happened to them, like a good morning. That's beautiful. The fact that you woke up, you're in your right mind,
Right.
put on your clothes,
Right.
venture out to
Right.
church. That's a huge blessing to start with. So for me to be the first person, or one of the people, because I'm always at the front door of the church, to say good morning to people, I mean, I'm tapping into their enlightenment.
Sure.
And I'm sharing with them my joy of seeing them.
Wow. Powerful.
Service to the house of the cultural lords.
Very interesting. Well, the Honorable Jonathan Green, thank you so much for your time. I really, really appreciate this.
Thank you. It's been a pleasure, Mr. Washington. You know, I always enjoy talking to you.
Thank you, Green.
Anywhere on the streets.
Oh, yes, right. Thank you.
Pleasure.
Likewise.